Hello and welcome to the first session of Voidheart Symphony. We are playing this on the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar. The Gauntlet is an online gaming club / community. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. This series is intended to be a quarterly, so we're going to try to play 12 sessions. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and I like this kind of game, but I'm going to talk a little bit about some things with that. This is a PBTA game powered by the Apocalypse, and I have run a lot of Legacy and Free from the Yoke and other designs by Mina and various co-authors. This is the first time I'm doing this particular game, and it has a lot. It's very different from some of the other designs. It's got some real structure to it that it encourages different play styles. And I'll also say there's a lot of weight in the playbooks, a lot of conceptual weight there. I have not studied the playbooks. I have instead focused on like all of the other stuff. So in a sense, you're going to be the expert on what your playbook can do. I will try to follow up over the next couple of weeks, looking at those and getting a sense of what the flow and the beats are for that. But just especially at the start, I may know just as little as you do about the playbooks themselves. But I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. We are using a Google Sheets keeper that was designed by Paul Beakley. He put this together. I've modified it a little, and we will be having a version of this available on the Gauntlet Play Aids folder. I talked with Paul and asked him about that today, and he was cool with that. So what is Voidheart Symphony? Conceptually, in Voidheart Symphonies, you're playing young adult characters in a city. Our city is called City of Ocean. It is a sort of technologist sort of dream, an American city that burnt in the 1950s in California on the coast, but was rebuilt with a real eye towards tech. So it really models itself on like South Korean cities and so on. So that's sort of the thematic that's going to be hanging in the background, is control and those kinds of systems and technology sort of as the backdrop. So in this world, you are rebels against the societal oppressions, societal victimizations, and so on. And this is a supernatural setting. It manifests that there are instruments of this oppression, figures known as vassals. These are figures that have manifested a sort of a psychic space associated with them. And you are going into these spaces, which are called castles. You have the ability to enter it. You transform when you go in there. They represent a kind of a mythic space. You will go in there to eventually, over time, figure out how to defeat them and then to shatter those vessels. Now, for those of you at home, you may recognize that this sounds quite a bit like Persona, especially Persona 5, and it very much is, which I'm very pleased with. I have been a big fan of Persona since Persona 2, played a lot of the SMT things, so I really enjoy that. But there are other sources, a couple that I have some familiarity with that are mentioned in the text are The Invisibles by Grant Morrison, representing kind of a weird sort of below the surface occult world and battle that's going on. Silent Hill is another one. For another game that is inspirational to me in terms of tone and so on, I Hunt is another one. If you've looked at that is certainly, when I'm thinking about this and planning things, that's in the back of my mind. So that's the general sort of concept that we're going to be playing out. In terms of play, our sort of approach to this is, this first session is our session 0.5. It's between 0 and session 1. We start in medias res. We play out, make some choices. We play out a little bit of a sort of a conflict to settle our first vassal. And then from there, we'll work out, returning back to the real world and making more choices. The game's structure is we get into the real world and you have a couple of actions each day. They can be a mix of sort of real world interaction actions, relationship actions, and the castle, the explorer, the rebel actions. And you can only do one rebel action per day. I believe I have to go back and look, but there is a structure there that goes on that you have to kind of choose what you want to do. Your relationship actions help you build up connections with people. They help you restore yourself. Help you solve problems that are happening in the real world, perhaps problems caused by the real world side of this vassal. And then rebel actions are investigating the vassal, possibly going into the castle to figure out what's going on with that, learning, getting those things together before that sort of final go in to take care of the vassal themselves. This is a cycle that we'll go through. We go into the castle for the final thing, then that sort of kicks off the next one. One of the things I don't know, since it's the first time of playing this and getting used to it, I don't know like what the session count is like for that. Like how many sessions does that mean? So we're going to play it kind of loose. We're going to kind of get the feel of it. I'll certainly will try and give us room to have time to do those character interactions. As we've learned from running Brindlewood Bay, opening that up really opens up the play, like giving us enough time to do those things. So that's the structure. That's our approach. The tone is certainly dark. It's weird. It's highly contrasted. There are mirrors. There are reflections. There are different sides to things. It is serious, but it is not grimdark. It is not nihilistic. There's a certain amount of hope in that you have the tools to fight back against these manifestations of oppressions. And it's a game where the relationships, the connections, all of that is as important as the sort of adventuring. So that's kind of the general tone that we're going for. Now, to help sustain that and think about it and to maintain a baseline, since there's potential for a lot of weird things, we have a set of safety tools. We are using as our baseline the lines and veils. The lines meaning this is not something I ever want to see in the game. It's not topic, tone, anything like that you want to see. A veil being something, if we hit it, I'd like it presented off screen, maybe alighted to, but not presented, or we fade to black when something like that would come up. And then ask first is anything that you're okay with, but you would want a check-in before we saw it at the table. So during this sort of first vassal phase, take a chance to look through there and mark anything, add anything that we haven't put on there. For example, this just occurred to me, something that I definitely want to put a line on, and worth mentioning that since we are modeling on Persona 5, I'm going to put a hard line on student-teacher relationships. That's the thing I just was thinking about before we got started. On the Lines and Veils tab to the side of that, I've also put a romance track. This is sort of a sideline to that, and you don't have to decide this now, but basically it's the idea of in play, are you open to romance with PCs, romance with NPCs, or would you rather, if I want that, I will instigate it with, I'll bring it up. You can do that when you have a chance to do that. So that's our baseline tool. The second tool that we have is the X card, which I know all of you are familiar with. For me, either this gesture or saying X card is fine. X card can be used if we hit material that you find objectionable. that you find problematic, particular word choices, things like that. Those can be X-carded. If you find that play is maybe stepping on your toes, you're getting talked over, or someone is repeatedly intruding into your scene, those are moments to actually also kind of stop us for a conversation X-card wise. Also, if something has gone wildly off tone, that you're like, that seems like off from what we were kind of promised. X-card is a time to kind of stop and have us recalibrate. When you do the X-card, the only question I might ask is like how far we need to cut back, so on. You never have to defend, justify, or explain your reasons for X-carding something. We take it as a given that you have a serious feeling about that. A good place to think about the X-card is if we're playing along and we're starting to lean towards something that we've got on the lines and veils, or even the ask first, and we haven't quite caught it, the X-card is a good time to kind of ask us to stop and maybe recalibrate. Tyler taught me this. So keep that in mind as a technique that we want to have out there with the X-card. The last thing I'm going to say here of this is we have an open door policy. Open door policy means that if you need to step away for whatever reason, be it physical, be it emotional, whatever, someone's delivering a package, you just step away. Don't worry. If you can tell us, be right back, or I'll be back in 5 minutes, that's great, but there's no requirement on that. If you leave and you're gone for a while, we'll see you later. The exception is if I'm gone for like more than 10, 15 minutes unexplainedly, maybe assume that something has happened. Though you'll probably hear Sherry at that point since she's in the other room. But that's out there as a thing. The sort of corollary to that is if after this session or after a later session of play, you go, this is not the game for me. This is not a game I actually want to play in. It's not the game I was expecting, or it's not a game I want to play right now. It is absolutely legit to drop. It's great if you tell me that you're dropping. You don't have to explain why. I've had players do that before, and that's another facet of our open door policy. So just keep that in mind. So now I'm going to take a slug of this coffee. As you can tell, I've already drunk quite a bit. So we have a set of steps that we're going to be going through for discussion of our play, our first session, and so on. So I'd like to ask, let's talk about the city. In particular, maybe we'll get down some elements, some thoughts, some themes that you would like to see, or ideas you have about the play space of the city. Things that maybe in terms of like my character, I'm thinking about a character like this, but because of that, I'd like to have this definitely in play as a thing. So we're just going to kind of go around on this to see what has occurred to people. Sherry, what are you thinking when I've said this? Is there anything you're imagining you definitely want to have on the table or off the table?
Yeah, I think I definitely want something that's sort of like excellent and ubiquitous public transportation via like rails, subway, but also elevated when necessary, and that's actually kind of a feature of the city that they go to a lot of trouble to promote for tourism, because it makes it easier to get around. They like actually will rebuild routes if a developer comes in and creates something that's worthy of visits and things like that. And so that's like a huge thing. And they have like, they're scrupulously well monitored,
Mhm.
lots of stuff to like make sure people are safe and stuff. But they also have ambassadors, like people who are there to help at the stations and things like that. They put that money in that just to make this like a hallmark of the city's experience.
Okay. I like that. It forms a skeleton. We know that any place that wouldn't be accessible would be very strange and unusual. And we've got that as a network running through here. Patrick, anything that has occurred to you that you've been thinking about?
We were talking about how the city has been like intentionally rebuilt. So I think it would be interesting to have like corners or places of construction constantly going on. You know,
Okay.
nothing like allowed to get too old. On
Hmm.
the one hand, keep things fresh and new and shiny, but also like you put up this thing is about like worlds and different veils of reality, and you put up some like tarps and scaffolding around a building, and anything could be inside.
I like that. That sort of New York thing where every street you go past has, in the shots, you always see scaffolding somewhere along the block. We've got
Mm-hmm.
those things. I like that very much. Mendel, anything you'd like to add?
So I think a logical consequence of the nothing being allowed to get too old is there's some spot, some sort of like adjacent section that's technically right outside of the city limits. That's sort of like a lesser version of like the Kowloon walled city,
Mhm.
where just the people who didn't fit in are living in the totally unregulated area. And, you know, they have to walk into the city to get to the public transit, but it's like, this is the place that is just through a, you know, it's where everybody whose homes burned down but couldn't get a spot in the city is. Because I imagine there were lots of old, like older, possibly old ethnic communities that kind of just got jumbled out here, may have grown out of camps that were started after the fire.
I like that, and the idea that certain people would have been able to, when things got redeveloped, stay, but certain people would have gotten, you know, a certain amount of allowance or social network, but put them out in these areas. That certainly we've seen that in other cities. I like that. David, anything you'd like to add?
This might not have as much to do with the city itself,
Mhm.
but rather its climate. For whatever reason, it might be interesting if there is a particularly kind of rainy season coming through. And my reasons for this are completely selfish. If this is going to be based off of kind of persona, I'm going to be picturing everything as very anime.
Okay.
And I need to have a scene where my character gazes mournfully out a window as the rain falls down, trickles down the window pane, and you can see from one side the character is profiled, but in the window's reflection you see their what is it called, their castle form looking back at them.
Okay.
That's all I really want out of 12 sessions, if we can just get that. So rain is something that comes to mind for me.
So Northern California, kind of a microclimate that unusually gets regular rainy seasons here, that allows us to talk to the weather itself. Absolutely, I am good with that. Sherry, anything else you'd like to add? I am writing this down, by the way, and I'll put this in our keeper a little bit later. Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, Northern California is a fabulous idea. And I think, gosh, what does that suggest? I think that essentially that means that because there are those seasons and stuff, there's all the infrastructure that goes along with that rainy season and handling all of a sudden a lot of water. So there are like big rain tunnels and stuff underneath that are for that time when there are the kind of like, not exactly monsoon rains, but
Right.
unceasing rains for a while. And stuff like that, but that during other times of the year, they're completely, clear and dry. So there are always things of people being in there. And even if there's not a huge number of them, there's always stories about it and things that happen and, that kind of thing.
Not unlike Las Vegas, which has a whole network of very large rain tunnels under it, just because the city's not built to take it if there is rain. So they've got these washout things. Okay, yeah, I like that. Patrick, anything else you want to add?
Well, if it's got all this rain, it should have good like greenery plant life, and that gives you the ability to like contrast between like the areas that are tightly controlled and the perfectly manicured plant life, but there's also the areas where it might be like growing out of control, or the ability to like break that control and that perfect planning of all the garden space, green space.
Some like private parks that are let to be more natural, and spaces that aren't controlled by the city but are owned by private citizens that are underdeveloped, maybe bidding wars over it, that have been let to go kind of wild. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Mendel, anything else you want to add?
I'll comment on Patrick said that guerrilla gardening sounds like it'll be a thing.
Okay.
I was thinking of there being a sort of a main central station that has the older architecture still. That was a huge building that survived and was repurposed as like the central station. I'm thinking of like some of the East Coast city building, or central station stuff like
the Washington DC has a really nice.
Metro Center, right?
Yeah. Right. Like that kind of very, very high tech, and then we would go up, we get that sort of older, almost Union Station Chicago style architecture. Okay. Oh, I like that. I like that contrast.
Yeah, then that's like a
awesome. David, anything else you want to add?
Only other thing I can think of is, judging by the city's name, I assumed it would be a coastal city.
Yep.
And so maybe there is, this isn't really a Northern California thing, but I'm always thinking, when I think of coastal California cities, there's always the big famous pier that juts out into the ocean. And so maybe a big pier that has all of the touristy, extravagant, sophisticated, contemporary, techie things up top, and then all of the seedy underbelly of the city goes on below, underneath the pier and the beach. It's a metaphor for social stratification, guys. But no, that sounds like it'd be pretty cool to me.
Okay, so we'll figure out a name, but we'll have a boardwalk that is this kind of contrasted touristy and old city of ocean space. That gives us a lot to work with, and I'll give us an opportunity later on to maybe add some more, but let's get take that as our sort of setup right now. So the first thing that we're going to do, we have that, is we're going to talk about playbooks. And I want to go around and see if, who might have a definitive idea about what playbook or playbooks they're thinking about. And we can kind of check in. We are going to have each playbook unique. But Sherry, if having had a chance to look through, if you were going to call one, two of these, what would you be thinking about? You're muted.
Sorry, I have to do that at least once, or it's not really me.
Absolutely.
It's a body double of some sort. So essentially, I think, because with Legacy it always breaks my brain a little, I think I might go with a playbook that actually plays to my default style. And the moves actually made sense to me when I read them. I went, oh yeah, I know when these hit. So that would be the provider.
The provider.
Yeah,
Okay.
that lets me concentrate on figuring out what the rest of the stuff is that's going on. So I always have a certain amount of discomfort with how we move up and down in Legacy until I get the hang of it.
Well, and here I think actually even more than say standard Legacy, we have a real break.
We do, we have a structure, so
Yeah.
that sounds awesome, but I still don't trust myself. So
Fair
there
enough.
we go.
I think that's fair. Patrick, what what are you thinking about? What do you have your eye on?
So I'll say first off, the playbook that I think is most interesting but scares me the most, and I really don't want to start with it. But the captive, I just think is a fascinating playbook. But I think that is something
Sherry
for
owes me $1.
I think that is something for either another play of this game when I know it better, or maybe like something
Yeah.
to move into further down the line.
The-
But the ones
the-
I'm
Yeah, the two that are really weird that like that have a different level of complexity are that penitent and the captive are both like add a whole other system to them.
captive is so fascinating. But
Yeah,
we move
but
past that. I'm currently sort of pulled between the heretic and the icon.
heretic icon. Okay, so we've got those two out there. Maybe someone else will grab one of them and force your hand, which I always like to have happen. But we've got two choices. Mendel, what are you thinking about?
So loosely, I've been leaning towards the tail end, but provider is taken. So the Watcher, I'm intrigued by the Penitent as well, but I know that's a bit more complicated. But if somebody else wants to play the Watcher, I will give the Penitent a role. I'm not concerned about complexity, but I am concerned about not having too many people taking offbeat roles.
I think that's
per
fair.
the discussion in the book. So, but that won't be a problem if everyone else doesn't take an offbeat role. So,
awesome. So I think we've got two choices there that don't overlap. David, what are you thinking about?
Unfortunately, regarding offbeat roles, the two that really stood out to me were the Inhuman and the Captive. So between the two, I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Inhuman just because I think my character concepts make a little bit more sense and are a little bit more stronger. But the fact that the Captive is playing basically a completely different game than everybody else is really intriguing. So
It's so fascinating.
Leaning towards Inhuman, but I also want to make sure that, like Mendel said, we don't have a party composed of
I am
all.
I am good with playing the Watcher if you want to play the Inhuman. So then you'll be the only offbeat one.
What do you think, David?
I'm happy to take Inhuman then. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you in just a second, and I'm going to have all of you make that final choice. Patrick, you've heard what the others have talked about. Between now, the heretic and the icon, what do you want?
I've played that icon idea a lot, so I think I'm gonna try the heretic to push into something different, and because I have sort of a thief idea for the heretic. Who
Okay.
knows? That might lead to a captive story later on. There's always that possibility for the future.
All right. So we're going to put you down for heretics. We've got provider, heretic. Mendel,
Yeah,
what do you want to do?
As I said, I'll take the Watcher. That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
So Watcher, David, what do you want? We will play with whatever you choose.
Let's just go with Inhuman and hope for the best.
All right. So you've got your playbook picked. What I'd like to do now is come back around. We'll start again with Sherry. Actually, I'm going to give you a second while I hide a bunch of columns. I'm going to come back and have you give us like a sense of what kind of character you're imagining and what their name might be. So let me give you a second on that while I hide things. Okay. Wow, the color choice on Heretic is very bright.
It's a little intense.
A little intense. All right. And if you have a picture, row 5 on each one is the place where you can drop in an image in there. And we'll kind of expand that out as we need to later on. So I'm going to continue on the order that I kind of started things out with here. Sherry, if I were to come to you and ask you to tell us a little bit about who your character is, what would you say? You are muted again.
So apparently, if you're the provider, your outward thing is not someone who's helpful. So I'm supposed to be a delinquent or all these other things. And then I choose my role from there.
Yeah. So right now,
so-
all you have to choose, you don't have to make any choices on your playbook except the ones I'm going to come to in a second.
Mhm.
Right now, like tell us what you're imagining for them.
I imagine that they are we high school or are we?
Oh, that's a good point. I am imagining if you are high school, you're senior, like you're technically you're a young adult. I would like that to be like the bottom age range, but anything past that is fine.
Okay. I think I'm going to take essentially, I'm probably imagining high school student, probably senior. She is the oldest sibling. She has younger brother and a younger sister. And she pretty much takes care of them because her father is in no kind of place to do that. She can't help him. He's like, how do you say, particularly anxious, and so a workaholic. But he's like, everything is kind of trying to keep him from going down because he's so anxious about his job. So he's kind of a complete force of uncertainty and instability in their household, even though he brings in plenty of money and stuff. And part of it is because when he lost his wife, he thought he couldn't take care of things. It's like just this cycle. She can't stop the cycle. She doesn't know what to do with it. All she can do is keep things okay for her siblings to the extent that she can. But because of that, she has a set of priorities that she has never really articulated to any of her peers. And she often breaks rules, comes in, does things that are abrupt and break probably social contracts a lot, and is considered like, I guess like a delinquent is essentially it.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have a name?
Yeah, come on, Lowell. You can't have a name until you have a picture. So I got to get the picture.
Okay, all right.
We'll work from there. Okay.
This actually brings me to a sidebar. So in a few years, I don't think this will be possible. But I think right now we can play out a modern world and we can imagine an anime fantasy world, and we're going to leave the pandemic off the table. I think we're going to do that. I think there's going to come a time when we can't in terms of playing a modern game. But for the moment, we're going to. This is an alternate universe. So just want to put that out there as a thing that I'll be more comfortable with. I hope everyone is okay with. Okay. Patrick, what are you imagining for your? Oh, do you have a name? Do I see a name there?
I know, it's weird. It's crazy. I expended all of my creativity trying to get a name before you came to me. I have nothing else for the whole night.
Okay.
I understand that completely. It's one or the other.
So I have Sasha,
Okay.
and he's like mid late 20s. I'll find a picture somewhere along the way that I like, but I think what exactly are we talking about here? Just look or?
Just give us like a sense, like what are they like? Because in this next part, you're gonna pick, you're gonna answer some questions about the vassal, and then you're gonna choose your role within the crew. That's like the two selections we're gonna make here before we get into the castle itself.
Gotcha. So I think he works as like a locksmith. I think he sidelines as a thief. Um, I think I think he has a hard time not spending his money in flashy ways, so I think he tends to dress in expensive or like noticeable fashions. Um, and I think he goes out to uh like the most popular current nightclubs when he's got a lot of cash to spend and will, party for several days in a row, sort of thing.
I like that. I think that gives a good kind of starting sense of who they might be like. Mendel, let me come to you.
So I've let me unmute if I'm not, I'm assuming. Okay. So I've picked Pam Doriat. She is a former sailor. I haven't decided whether that's Navy or Merchant Marines, who's kind of gone. If it's Navy, then I might make her a student who is going to school on GI Bill and sidelines as a sort of finder of lost things for people. And if she's Merchant Marine, then she'll be, gainfully semi-employed as an unlicensed PI. So I'm not sure which of those two branches I want to do. So
how old are you imagining? So certainly in 20s, 30s?
I don't think she served more than 5 years.
Okay.
So it was a short tour, and it didn't, she was, it was not something she found, it was something that had ended up rubbing her the wrong way. And I just don't think, it's whether it was her, whether it was just it not fitting or if there was an incident, I just assume leave undecided right now.
Sure.
But no, it's
okay.
She's not a whole lot. She went in right after high school and is therefore, she's in her mid-20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's a good thing. And that'll give us a chance to kind of think about like what kind of college or university she's attending, that kind of thing. David, you have a name as well. Gabriel?
Yes.
Awesome. Tell us about Gabriel.
So I wanted to put an idea out there for Gabriel's concept before I fleshed it out any further, because I don't know what the game can really support in terms of character concepts for the Inhuman. When I was looking at the playbook for the Inhuman, under the particulars header, kind of in the top left, one of the things that stood out to me was the possibility of playing as a dream or the personification of a dream. And I was wondering if it would be doable in the context of the game, or if it would make sense for my character to be the literal personification of another character's recurring dream, or another character's nightmare or hopes or aspirations. But I am literally like this embodiment of another player character's kind of inner world. And so by protecting me or by defending me or by helping me, they're literally attending to their actual like dream or some part of them or something like that.
Interesting. Anyone interested in having that as a kind of a link there, or David, does someone like in your imagining any of the ones that have spoken for already, like that you're drawn to?
I'm not really. I wonder maybe if it could go well with Sherry's character, because you have the protector role, and that way you're kind of protecting literally a piece of yourself in some way. And so there's all kinds of interesting setup for, you know, making sacrifices on behalf of yourself. And I just wonder if that might be interesting, but I'm
Oh.
open to anyone else.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
what kind of role do you think in the dreams? Like, I know in dreams, one of the big things is flight. What if like she can only fly in her dreams if you're with her? That kind of thing.
Okay, I like
Does that
that.
make any sense? Like there's a
Sure.
sort of like she has a, and yeah.
Well, and flight is in some ways kind of a symbolic of freedom, which I
Mhm.
think is an underlying theme in the game. You know, you have this oppressive castle and we're seeking to rebel and obtain freedom from it. So, I mean, there's some thematic overlap there we could play around with.
Anything else that you're interested in?
I wonder if your character has any, and I mean, this is a deep question, but do they have any kinds of, you know, really deep-seated hopes or aspirations, or, you know, what kind of person do they want to grow up into because they're so young? I mean, I just wonder if there's some way that my character could be kind of connected to that. So by protecting my character, you're literally protecting the person you're going to become. There's some kind of weird thematic symbology there.
Ooh, what city of ocean, isn't it? What if she always wanted to be an oceanographer? And there's this real sense of like water. Maybe the dream isn't flight. Maybe the dream is being able to go deep, go underwater, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. Well, I mean, it goes well with the rain that we've already kind of
Mhm.
inserted into the climate. So there's a lot of water motifs that I'm thinking about. I'll have to kind of think about how this might play out,
Okay.
or how it might
like
look
that.
for my character. But yeah, so in that case, I'll say that my character appears outwardly to just be another student who goes to school with Cherry's character. And I'm sure that I have hobbies of my own, and kind of interests of my own, but I think that gives us enough info. Is there any other conceptual information that you need in order for me to?
No, I think we probably want to work on that as we go, right? We'll pick our motifs and we'll go a little deeper to see how that fits. But I like that. I can work with that. That's just my first thing. If you think of something else or would like a different motif, just say we can work to that. So
Sure,
infinitely
sure.
flexible at this point. So
Excellent. So the next thing that we are going to do is we're going to talk about each role playbook has a question for you to answer about the Vassal. Let me find where that is at. I wonder if is that just the first descent question? Like, do you see a question about the Vassal, or is it, do you feel like that's that first descent? Because it's weirdly described.
So in the I'm looking at the PDF playbook here. It's how did you realize there was a strange power behind the Vassal? So that's the
Okay, good. So there are the questions. It's weird because those aren't on the playbook laid out in the book. So I need to pull up that thing. So we're going to answer some questions about the Vassal. And then we're going to look at the pre-first descent and the role questions that we have there. So the first person, if we go alphabetically on this, is the heretic. What is the question that you have about the Vassal?
PDF. It's how did you realize there was a strange power behind the Vassal?
Do you want me to give you a little form to work with for the Vassal?
Yeah, do you have anything
Yes,
to tell me about them?
yes. This Vassal is the manager of a highly automated apartment building. And they have their hobby is essentially quietly making the lives of their tenants miserable, like without it being traced back to them. They do that, and that gives them a just a degree of satisfaction, is being this kind of quiet behind the scenes force.
So I think I was working to break into this, like the penthouse of this apartment building. And I had tracked down like the public blueprints when they were building the apartment building. You know, it's like brand new built, shiny, expensive luxury, all this sort of stuff. Um, uh, and I think I had found some like service access hallways on the blueprints that I could work my way around the security. But when I found my way into the like service hallways, the lock to get in there, the security mechanism was way higher than I thought it would be. But these hallways, they twist and turn, they go on. It doesn't make sense. They were longer than the block the building was on. They seemed to keep going up and down and twisting in strange directions that should have had me in the middle of the building. And I don't know if I ever actually found my way to the penthouse. I think maybe like this whole situation freaked me out and I eventually had to run.
I like that. So that you saw there was something weird. You knew that it was wrong. Like, what form did the tenants take in that vision?
Oh, I think I think they were sort of like shuffling, vague, sort of sleepwalking, but they all have these what looked at first like a police ankle monitor
Mm-hmm.
or something on them, but there were like it was almost medical, like there were needles going into them from them, or like you could see like blood or cuts underneath it.
Nice, nice. I like that. That brings us. That gives us a sense. That brings us to our inhuman. And so, your question is a little more general, more about the group than it is about the vassal itself. That's what kind of threw me there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, what's going on? So what is your question and how do you want to answer that?
Okay, if I have the right question, I believe it is, how did the rebels catch your attention? Why are you helping them?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like I almost kind of answered this with the character concept, because I'm so inextricably tied to let me see, Charlotte, is that the name we're going with, Sherry? Yeah, I'm so inexplicably tied to Charlotte. I'm literally kind of a personification of her psyche made manifest. That's attention catching, and I think that I'm helping them because I'm afraid that if something happens to Charlotte, then I too will cease to exist.
So like when Charlotte went in, that's when you changed and manifested into this form, like it became more real, you think?
Yeah, I think that I've always been with her, but never before have I actually manifested.
Okay. Well, and then let me ask you this. We'll assume that the part of the assumption is that you all have been in the castle once or twice, and this is kind of the final confrontation you're going to. Does Charlotte know who you are in the real world? Like, does Charlotte I mean, they know you, but do they know that you're not real? Does the group know you're not? And I say real with a big capital R there.
Right. Yeah, I'm inclined to say yes, unless people think it would be more interesting for their character to be unaware.
Well, I think that's fair. That maybe we don't fully understand or even had time to explore that, but they know that you are not like them, and we can play with the dimensions of that. I think that makes sense. Let me move on to our next one, and that is the provider. What is your question?
So who did the vassal hurt and how did you comfort them? Would it make sense if I actually lived in this building
Absolutely.
and that it's my father and that is what I am always dealing with?
And how did they hurt them?
It's this sort of constant dripping, a thing of making everything, he's a lawyer. So all of his communications, if they're electronic and they go through the thing, stuff gets lost, doesn't actually make it out, or, connections drop, those kinds of things, just everything that just makes it harder. Documents change, just little stuff that just makes him look like he's not as competent as he actually is. It's like his whole sense of himself is sort of crumbled. And
you've realized that. How have you comforted your father?
I think I think that I mean, here's the thing is she is like, no, someone is messing with things. Like she says, someone has changed that because I read it before and it wasn't like that. And she does, like, I mean, no one ever prints things out anymore. She'll
Right.
print something out,
Okay.
and then it changes and go, look, it used to be this. Something changed it,
Excellent. So cutting through the gaslighting that's going on. Okay.
Trying
to.
But it's just so low and tiny, and it like makes no sense. Why would anyone do that?
Perfect. And last but not least, our watcher. What is your first descent question?
So what is the vassal going after? And I think there's do you want me to write it in there too? But or
you can just tell us now. I'm kind of
okay.
getting a sense.
I imagine that because of the overall torment that's been going on in the building, that there were several open apartments, and I think that the owners of the building, got some grant money and are putting some refugees in a few of those apartments, and since they don't speak English very well, they're a prime target, and they're I think that's where this vassal is planning to escalate to actually really exercise their ability to torment people.
I like that. That's a great raising of the stakes that goes on there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come around, and I'd like you to each tell me which of those roles from your crew have you leaned towards, have you chosen. Sasha, of those heretic roles, which one do you think is appropriate? I think you have devil, magician, and tower, right?
Right. I had looked at the other two. I'm just looking at the tower now. Interesting. The Patrick in me wants to choose the devil, but I think the magician actually fits better with my character here, at least to start with.
Okay. I think that is a good one to start with. And then for Gabriel, what about for you?
I think it best fits with star, which
Mhm.
is a mindless object or animal accidentally uplifted.
I like that. And Sherry, what about for you?
Hmm,
Gardener, Temperance, Wheel of Fortune.
I know, it's so interesting. I mean, Temperance is the one that it sounds like it's the role that she has with her fam. But I wonder if with people outside her family, she's different. Like she longs to be a different person and she is. There's that other self of her, and
Mhm.
maybe more like Wheel of Fortune.
Okay, I like that. And then what about for our Watcher?
I was debating between Hermit and Sun, but I think I'm going to go with Sun.
Okay.
It's like that
Maybe
VLOOKUP
slightly-
isn't working.
Hmm?
It's like that VLOOKUP on choosing your role isn't working.
Mine did.
So it's not working for you, Patrick. Is it working for you, David?
It is when I hit it. It chose star.
See here the V lookup.
It should. So basically, when you do the drop down your crew, it should give you the next to it.
Okay, yeah. When you select star, it does pull up for me at least.
Okay.
I still just see details will appear here.
Beside the magician box,
Yeah.
I see skill, flair, improvisation.
Yeah,
Ask.
you might need to reload the sheet.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a lot going on in this sheet.
Yeah.
We'll be hiding some of this. And
Hey,
we'll
there it is.
put people's names on the relationship map, and we'll get to that after a bit. What we're going to do here is I generally try to take breaks on the hour. My first break is always 10 minutes, and the later breaks are 5. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to move into the castle. Sound okay? Okay. All right. So let's take 10. But before I get to any of that, we've made some choices on lines and veils. Let me go through those. And again, this is a living document. So anything else you want to add to this, feel free. We'll try to keep up with that. So we have hard lines on dental horror, torture by the PCs, and student-teacher relationships. So those are the 3 that are definitely off the table. And then we have veils on harm to animals, harm to children, sexual content, and intimate partner abuse. And then we have an ask first. If we were to bring up issues of suicide, we definitely want to check in with people before we bring that out as an element for the game. So let's look at those questions from our roles here. Patrick, what is bring your group together, like what is the question, the relationship question that is asked there for you?
So for the magician, the question is, which of you depends on my talents? Which I
Interesting.
guess my easy ones are, locksmith, thief, professional carouser. But we can definitely go beyond that as well.
Anyone want to take that connection?
It sounds very adult.
Yeah, I can take that connection, as in I would have found Sasha to be a useful subcontractor when what I'm looking for is not in a otherwise accessible place.
Nice.
I just generally draw a little line between
Yep.
the two, and we'll figure out how we want to label that later.
You can be the angel to my to my Rockford if you want.
Nice. And then for Gabriel, what is your question?
My question is, who is trying to bring out my potential?
Interesting. Do you think it's definitely your dream person, or is it someone else?
So do I answer that question?
You can answer it. You can throw it
Okay.
to the group. Can kind of get a sense. Anyone feel strongly about that one?
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like Charlotte, it almost speaks for itself. It's kind of on the nose, perhaps, but
Yeah. I think definitely though it's very much like he's in high school with her and she wants him to like enjoy that experience. So
Oh,
she's always
interesting.
trying to push him to like do more things, even though she like gets up and leaves all of a sudden. But she's like, always wants him to be in clubs and it introduces him to people and things like that.
Mm.
So
I like that. And then Charlotte, what is your question?
my question is, let's see here. Which of you did I guide through misfortune?
Anyone want to take that?
I'm into that.
Okay. What do you think that kind of looks like?
I don't know. I feel like I've gotten myself in trouble before, not necessarily with the thieving, but with hedonism, going too far, making bad decisions.
Sure. I
I
could see
think
that.
maybe you've talked me through the like emotional fallout of some destroyed relationships, of some burned bridges.
Nice.
Yep. While sitting on the bench and calling an Uber for you because you were so drunk,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
And then Pam, what is your question?
Which of you have found clarity or fortune through my advice?
I feel like I would benefit because
Okay.
I seem
Yeah.
to be
Mhm.
a fish out of water, if you will. But I'm trying to think what sort of advice Pam would be likely to give. I'm trying to flesh her out in my head.
So the best way to describe it, so probably we could come from the perspective that I also felt very alienated in school, and that's why I joined the Navy. And it's one of those things where it's really not about where you are, it's about how you see yourself, kind of thing. The idea of like you being a fish out of water is something that I see like myself years ago, some years, not too many years ago, if that makes sense.
I see. Yeah, I like
Right.
that. So a lot of kind of encouraging to explore and develop your own self-identity, that kind of thing.
Right.
I like it. We can go with that.
Mhm.
Someone else gets it.
Yep.
So we come to our scene, our setting. We know that our crew has been here before, has explored this place, and I imagine that it has been working your way up the levels of the apartment building, and now we're at the top level. We're at that penthouse that Sasha was going for originally, and you've found a way to enter into here. So when you appear in this world, like, what do we see? what do you kind of look like? You don't have your signature weapon yet. You're going to get that. This is sort of the first time you're going in, but like, what does your, for lack of a better term, we call it avatar appear like here? Sherry.
What does she appear like? But we haven't gotten like any of the void things or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe we'll see that way we've seen in the game where this will evolve into something else. Like, what are the basic like motifs that we might see for Charlotte?
I think the thing that you see is she's got like a sharp white jacket and like at first you think she has gloves, but then when you look, it's actually like she's wearing a black cat suit, except it isn't. It's actually a diving suit. This is not an outfit that she has chosen. This is just kind of what has manifested a little bit. Does that make sense? And so, and the thing is that that white jacket is very recognizable to the people of the city because it is one of those ambassador suits
Okay.
for the transit system. So it's a weird thing. And her hair is moving like she's underwater. So it does that kind of like that. So that's her first little fledgling bits.
I like that. Sasha, what do we see for you?
I think he's also dressed in dark clothes, blacks and dark grays. But his arms and his chest are like wrapped around tightly with chains of different sizes with like locks and keys hanging off of them. So he's all black and silver, sort of like high fashion Jacob Marley.
Mhm.
But the like magic of it is that all that metal moving around all the time, while it sort of flashes and shimmers, it doesn't actually make noise or clank.
Does it look like Houdini when he's all rigged up for his, underwater lock picking?
It's sort
See?
of like the
Yeah.
chains aren't quite that big, like industrial size. They're more like smaller gauges to make them more fashion. But yeah, that's very much a sense.
Nice. And then what about for Pam? How does Pam appear here?
So Pam is not uh, so her clothing doesn't change appreciably. It's kind of like she's comfortable in her jacket and rough and tumble, probably still slightly dirty, but the main difference is going to be that her eyes are a little larger and they're definitely cat eyes.
Oh, nice.
That's the only like, otherwise it's just like there doesn't seem to be much difference at all.
I like that.
Do they do the trick of like catching light in the dark?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then Gabriel, how do you appear here?
I think that clothing is going to be school uniform. But the major differences are that I think that I'm going to be vaguely, emphasis on the vaguely, translucent, such that light passes through me, but it's kind of filtered, almost as if it's passing through water. Like if you're, 6 or 7 feet underneath the surface of a pool and you look up and you see these kinds of hazy streams of light streaming through. I think that's kind of the filter effect that comes through me. And for better or for worse, I think that I also leave damp footprints wherever I walk. They evaporate quickly, but it's not good for a chase.
Nice. So the four of you make your way forward, and we see you at the fancy doors to this penthouse that you've got the key to, and it's probably a big pass card. And you will swipe that pass card, and those doors will come open, and we'll see a room that is filled with shadows, like clearly the when people like work at monitors and stuff in the darkness, it's that kind of look of shadows around, and you will see that there is a station, like a desk with controls, and that sort of crazy quilt of monitors for all over the apartment building are up and around, different scenes, different shots of you, different shots of other places in the apartment building, all of those around. And then there are smaller figures, like those tenant apartment dwellers that Sasha described, but smaller versions of them, like a mob of those around. And our figure will spin around in his enormous office chair with the private security policed hat on, and the like rent-a-cop uniform, but like super fancified, like dripping with like silver, jewels and things like that, made to be super ostentatious. And he's like, you. So we are in the middle of this fight. You need to break this vassal. This vassal has 3 strengths, and we'll talk about what those look like when you break them. We're going to be using primarily the confrontation moves, which are on the castle moves tab on the farthest right-hand column. So who has an idea for how you want to start this out, or how you want to approach this? Any thoughts there? Anyone have a good theme?
Yeah,
Okay, let's start with Charlotte then.
I think this is the thing, is she sees it, she gets it, like it's almost too on the mark for what she was expecting in some ways. And I think that she sort of screams, you, and I want to have her run and actually line it up, which is I size them up to locate a weak spot. So
Okay.
Now I don't know anything about my coins though.
So here's what it is. You have 4 stats, each of the suits. And right now, as we play, you've got a +1, +1, 0, and a -1. And you can assign those as you wish. So do you want to assign your +1 to this, to coins?
Sure, I will give +1 to my coins.
Okay.
And then I will roll and disappoint myself.
Yes, I was going to say.
It is up to me to start us off in peril. So let's see here. Go to the roller. My name in. Try not to upset the cat. Could be deadly. Come on. And I'm going to roll 2d6 and I'll add 1 to it.
Absolutely.
So I roll a 5 and I add 1 to it, and that gives me a stunning 6.
That gives you a stunning 6.
How classic. Do I have any boost things or stuff like that?
It looks like, if we look at the thing, we have stand with me, but that is to save someone from a particular danger.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't see the classic help someone with a +1 move in this.
Okay.
Am I right on that, Patrick?
I don't see anything either, no.
Okay. So you go to move and kind of get a look at it, and I think that as you start to move, you realize that the shadows on the ground are much gummier than they appear. That it looks like You know how carpets get old in movie theaters and places and they
Mhm.
get sticky? It's like that, like the flooring grabs onto you and will hold you there.
Like the cables themselves have gotten goopy and,
Yeah.
okay.
Patrick, were you going to say
So
something?
yeah, I did find it on the universal moves.
Okay.
There's either hard lessons, so if you rolled that miss in the castle, you can mark world, so you can get some XP, or help out. Someone else can help you if their crew covenant is intense or bright, give you advantage, but share in the consequences.
Okay. So that's a clear declare before you act kind of thing.
The way it's written, it looks like, yeah.
Okay.
But you do
Uh,
get to mark world for missing in the castle.
yes.
Yay.
So
That
here's
makes
a question,
everything better.
Sherry. Since you had a
Yes.
choice, do you want to go ahead and ask someone for help so you can get advantage to roll another die to see if you can actually get the benefit?
No, I will mark world and
Okay.
I will shake my fist at him. There you go.
All right. Yeah. So you are kind of stuck in place. You've felt that hit and are trapped. Who goes after you?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think it's almost certainly Pam.
Okay. Pam, you see that? You see Charlotte rush forward and immediately stuck in place.
Oh,
All
great.
the cameras turn. Now her picture's on all of the screens.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to try to. It's clear that we have to. We're not going to be able to find a weakness before we try to distract or otherwise. So we need to distract him enough that we can actually find out
Right.
how to hurt him.
Yeah.
So-
You need an opening. You don't get the sort of the investigative benefits of the sort of prologue moves.
Well, what I'm thinking of is trying to put pressure on him.
Okay.
So basically, just charging in to try to distract, but being careful not to, or at least trying to be careful not to get myself caught in these cables as well.
All right. So you will roll swords.
All right. And I think my swords is going to be my +0.
Okay.
So that's going to be fun to try to remember that, but I'll try.
I think you can write it in below on the your swords now down below.
Okay. Yes, but they're all by default 0.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
So
that
I
was a
just
dumb
have-
thing for me to say.
So I just have to remember that.
Yeah.
That I set to 0. Okay. So so just straight logged into the. Okay, so
Now, this is one of those cases where it's a system where before
Yes.
someone rolls, someone has to offer to help.
does anyone want to help?
As
You know-
Pam launches forward to attack.
I'll
I can
help.
assist. Well, yeah.
So,
Everybody help!
well, let's start
don't
with
fu-
you, Patrick.
Yes.
We've got that help mechanic. So when you help out, tell us what you do.
I think Charlotte rushing in and keeping up his attention. Sasha's taken that opportunity to sort of slip to the side of the doorway and escape a little notice as he's like pulling and unwrapping some of the chains off of one of his sleeve. And I want to try and like get it around the Vassal's ankle to trip him up or at least throw him off balance while Pam's moving in.
Perfect. So Pam will roll with advantage.
All right. Okay, so I get an 8.
Okay, an 8. So we look at that move. So pressure, when you launch your own, they'll retaliate. But what do you want as the the result there.
Okay. I'm going to, I want to give an ally a window to act freely. So I think that, yeah, I think that Sasha, right? You were setting me up. So I'd like to actually set you up to try to get an opening on him. So.
You go charging forward, Sasha, you kind of back him up, and the minions, those figures, rush and grab onto you, Pam, and you take their attention as they kind of swarm and are trying to pull you down into the morass, the maze of these cables. Sasha, I'm going to read that the window to act freely is probably an advantage. Is a way to read that. What do you want to do?
Advantage. I want to see. I want to take a moment up close to study how he's reacting to these two attacks. So if I've got advantage, I want to line it up and zero in on what's going to be the killer blow.
All right, then you're going to roll coins. What do you think your coins is?
I mean, my coins is obviously +1, right?
Okay. So roll with advantage with a +1.
Thinking. Oh God. That's a 6.
So that is going to be a miss.
But I did find.
Yes.
Also in the universal moves, there's Evoke the Covenant, which is if you're desperate after rolling the dice, say which intense covenant you call on for aid. But can we call on our crew covenants for that?
You can call on your crew covenant. You can fade it down a degree.
Okay.
But if you do that, you need to say which rebel steps up to help you, and I'll describe how they're put in danger.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Pick me.
I'm gonna mark a fade on the covenant and figure out how that works later. And I can't help but pick Charlotte. She's so eager.
Okay.
Yeah, it might mean that help doesn't work for you anymore. As a heads up.
Oh yeah, because we have to have the covenant.
Because then you can't fade it again. So this is the thing, and you need that intensive right.
Nice. Okay.
Charlotte, how are you putting yourself in danger to get Sasha set up there?
Well, I've gotten gummed up by these cables and stuff, and I think she's just going to reach down and grab a hold of them and pull on them really hard, just to like sort of knock the monitors around and all of that stuff. Change the lighting, change what he can see.
Perfect.
Nice.
Sasha.
I'm going to re-roll one of those ones.
Okay.
Oh. All right, so that's 3 plus the 4 plus my 1 is an 8.
8. So when we look at that, we can see that you have a 7 and 9. You have to pick 2.
Oh. So on a hit, you find an opening. Okay. Then 7 to 9, I have to pick 2. I'll say where it's coming from. I think it's that he's just completely off balance now.
Get pulled by those cables.
Yeah. And then I have to pick 2. Since you an attack you away, the opening only lasts a few moments. Suppose these you can disband. I think he sends an attack my way, and the opening is going to be fleeting.
Okay.
Only lasts a few moments.
Then let us have you roll your dodge. Kind of the fallout to that is there's an attack incoming at you. Roll with wands.
Oh, fractal moves.
Yes. We're kind of getting used to the thing. We're going to see how these things roll out into what, and we'll get that resolved, and then we're going to go to Gabriel.
Wands, and what are my Wands, I think I'm gonna put it at 0.
Okay.
Die. I'm gonna roll them, and something happens. Oh Jesus, that's a 3.
So there is this. So the good news is you get to mark
World.
for a fail.
Yay.
So you get to mark that, but that you go forward and you spot that opening, but then that cable, another one whips and knocks you back. Mark one of your conditions. I'm going to let you choose which condition you want to mark.
Oh, there they are. Angry, callous, cowed, overwhelmed, scared. I think Sasha's scared.
Okay.
Part of being a thief is that you don't get into these up close confrontation situations with people. Like, I'm supposed to be here when no one's here.
Perfect. Gabriel. You've seen this. You've seen Charlotte rush forward, get dragged down. You probably start to move towards her. Saw Pam move up. Sasha kind of following up, and then Charlotte put herself in even more peril as she's trying to pull on these cables. And Sasha gets whipped by this, but the pulling and all of this has exposed an opening on the foe that you could take advantage of if you wanted to.
Yeah, let's go ahead and strike that opening.
Okay. So when you strike, how are you doing that? Is it guile, insight, direct force, or arguments and emotional appeals?
I'm just gonna say, let's put that +1 into swords and go right for the physical aggression.
Okay.
And would you like me to go ahead and roll that?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. 8.
That is an 8. Pick one of the results there.
Okay. Let's say they will lash out and mark me.
Okay, so you can mark a condition. I think, and what if you grab, like, what's your improvised weapon that you're striking them with?
Ooh, improvised weapon. I'm gonna say loose cable, but as I pick it up in my kind of watery hands, it freezes.
Okay.
And then they just, it's a thrusting attack with this frozen cable with the sharp pointy wires that are loose sticking out. I mean, this is going to be a pointy poke kind of attack.
It will hit him, and we will see all of the buttons and epaulets and accoutrements and all of that shatter off of him as you crack his armor. And it's just in his, like, it's gigantic, but it's just the version of the little vest that he's required to wear downstairs. But all of the fancy and frill of it is flying around, and he will reach out and he hits you with this walkie-talkie. What condition do you want to mark?
Let me see the options here. Scrolling down. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go with angry.
That seems good. Yeah, a certain amount of rage that overcomes you. Charlotte, we're going to move back to you. 2 qualities of this foe still remain: the darkness that it controls, and this mob that it is throwing and trying to pull Pam down. What do you want to do?
Ooh. So there's a mob that is controlling. Can I do against that? Let's look at these awesome castle moves. So that is a ongoing danger to them, right?
That is one of the two qualities that's remaining
Okay.
for
Okay,
our
so it's a
foe.
quality. So it's
Yeah.
not something that's a danger on Pam per se, correct?
Not right yet. I haven't
Okay,
kind
good.
of
Sorry.
pushed forward on that yet.
Got it. So then, but there's still that opening. So I could, in theory, strike at one of those.
So to strike, you will need an
Opening
opening.
breaks when you use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, so we have to open another break, open another thing. Then I will try to line it up again.
Okay.
All right. And I am all for it. So let's
I
do
think you set
this.
your coins at +1.
Yes, it's gonna just turn around this time. No, I'm gonna roll the exact same thing I did before.
Okay.
So there we go.
Does it
So-
count that I'm keeping one of those qualities occupied and I'm trying to assist you in that way? Or?
Well, I think the assistance
guess-
that you did, we already kind of gave as an advantage
that's
for
fair enough.
Sasha. Yeah.
So
Okay, I just, or
no,
rather,
I think
is
it's a
there
good-
more I could do to assist? Or
well,
am I
if
kind of pummeled?
if Charlotte wanted to fade the covenant and call on you, then they could, if we go and look at that re-roll.
the covenant. Okay.
So evoke the
I could
covenant.
roll one of the dice.
Yeah.
Okay, I could do that. So fading the covenant, what am I doing when I do that?
So what it is you're calling on the sort of the bonds and strength of the covenant. We talk about how one of the other crew members is helping you, but putting themselves in danger. And it does mean that you can't use help out for the rest of the scene.
Ooh. Still, I think that the thing that definitely spurs me forward is that Gabriel has sort of run up there to do that strike, and they're standing there right in front of him, and I have to at least split the danger that's going on. So so I will fade the covenant
Okay.
to line it up so that we can get this guy.
Who is it? Is it Pam or Gabriel that you think is giving you the assistance? So you're kind of following in on
so-
Gabriel's attack or on Pam's essentially drawing of the mob?
Well, I think the drawing of the mob.
Okay.
I was
Yeah, I'm
speaking
gonna-
about my reasons.
I'm going to be yelling at them and trying to encourage them to come after me more. So
Perfect. So you are in further danger. So certainly when you go, the danger is going to be pushed and rolling up on you. So Charlotte, re-roll that one.
Okay. And then okay, so 5 plus a 4 plus the 1 that I had would give me a 10.
10. So this time you will line it up. You will find an opening.
Yes.
Tell us what that opening is. And then you have to pick one of those results there.
Okay. I think that essentially, I think when I do it, and this, I use coins to do that, right?
Yeah.
And those attacks, it says what those kinds of attacks are.
Can I make a suggestion here?
Yeah, no, go for it.
I think you will see as you're kind of doing that to kind of get a sense of this. I think you'll see that that we've talked about those cables running along. I think that the cables are running from him to the monitors. Like the monitors are an extension of him and are vulnerable. Does that sound like a good opening?
Yeah, exactly. So
what do you want as your pick one?
I would definitely like to take a fleeting disadvantage on strikes.
Okay. So he definitely sees you. Again, the cameras turn, watch you, are on you. Pam, you've got this mob around you, but his attention is distracted. But you know that like he's kept an eye on you. So his retaliation, if you do not do well, is going to be strong. What do you want to do, Pam?
All right. Let's think. At this point, I mean, as I said, I'm really just trying to keep drawing what I can. I don't think I can get close enough to make get a good strike. I've got these all around, but I'm gonna try to tie them up or get these shadowy things caught up in the cables
Mhm.
so that they're kind of they're kind of twisting up in their own attacks. They're doing more damage to themselves than each other.
Perfect.
So I don't
That
feel like
feels
I
like
can take
pressure,
advantage.
right?
Yeah,
Like
no, I
you
don't
could
feel like I
choose-
can take advantage of the opening yet.
Okay.
I'm not the one in position for that. Gabriel is very well positioned for that. So
What
um
what do you want to what is your swords?
+0.
+0. Let's have you roll that.
All right. I don't know that anyone's in position to help. But if anybody else wants
I
to
think
come
that's
into the
probably
fray.
the consequence of the opening and you being sort of put in
Yep.
danger by the things that they kind of out of position.
All right, so I have a 5.
You have a 5.
Mhm.
So I think you are pulled down by that mob and buried under them. Go ahead and mark world for
Okay.
missing in the castle, and then mark a condition
Okay.
as you're pulled under. What do you want to mark?
Conditions. Um, Oh, I feel like overwhelmed is probably the right feeling on
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Physically, metaphorically pulled down,
Mhm.
dragged down into this sea of cables and these
Mhm.
forms of these phantom tenants. Sasha, what do you want to do?
So I think Sasha's been like scrambling back from the big guy, um, but sees Pam starting to get pulled under the swarm, and so you know he can be brave and run away at the same time by going to try and help her.
Okay. Uh,
So would this be a situation where I could use stand with me to pull her
I
out of
think
an
that is
ongoing danger?
absolutely what you could do.
Nice. So my cups is already a 1. So I'm gonna there. Oh, it's a 7.
It's a 7. So you will pull, what does that look like when you pull Pam out from under this?
Um, I'm sorry, Mendel. What is Pam wearing again?
Um, her leather jacket and relatively normal street clothes. So
Um, so I think as he gets into the center of the melee with you, he'll yell "sorry" in your ear as he sort of grabs onto your shoulders and gives you a spin, and your leather jacket comes off as he drapes it around the shoulders of one of the mob and like redirects their attention on that one for a minute.
Nice, nice. Pull
listen,
Pam out from under there. Gabriel, there is still an opening lingering there. If you wanted to strike again.
Yeah, I think that now I'm angry, so I have to do another strike.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll roll strike with swords and see how
Okay.
it goes. That is an 8 again.
That is an 8. So how do you take advantage of that connection to the monitors?
Oh, that's a fine question. Let's see. Where is our vassal? Kind of
He's like in front of, he's like at a security desk. He's kind of up. You kind of probably had to leap under the security desk to shatter the armor off of him. The monitors are in a big bank behind him.
Got it. I wonder if I wonder if there might be, if this isn't too elaborate, I might wonder if there might be a way to get up onto the rigging where there's all the cameras and maybe bring some of that down on him.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you leap up, you realize that there are all the camera they have to have that controls, and you grab onto that. Does it just give, or do you like have to kick against the ceiling? What do we see?
I think this is where I have to apply some of that anger that's been drummed up. I really have to dig deep and kind of pull the upper body strength down to tear this stuff completely asunder from the rigging that's connected to the top of the ceiling. Yeah.
Smashes into the monitors, shatters those cameras, and you'll realize that is what was controlling the mob. And you'll see those figures, those tenants who kind of were under surveillance. That surveillance is gone now, and you will see them recede. And the only thing that's left, the only thing that this vassal has left is the darkness, the shadows that he hides in, that he controls. And he will yell out. What do you want as your lash out?
The pick one for the strike.
Yeah.
Let's say that I'm singled out and they have an opening on me.
Okay. He will pick up some of like the detritus and pieces from that mob, the things that they were holding, and kind of pulls them up to try to use it as some kind of weapon against you. We circle back to Charlotte.
I think that this is when I do Stand With Me to bolster Gabriel. Essentially, I'm hoping to get rid of that opening that he had, that
Okay.
guy has on him. So I'm rolling with cups. So I'll take a
Yes.
+1 in cups because I think cups and coins is an awesome combo.
Okay.
If only. So I'm rolling 2d6 and I'm adding 1.
Okay.
Whoa, I got a 9. Almost like a real dice roller.
Like a real roller. So yeah, how do you keep Gabriel from this vassal swinging at him with the leftover weapons of the mob?
Yeah, I think that essentially he's right there, and you know how those little booths have like a door to them. Essentially, I think she just shoulders that door open and puts it in between him and Gabriel.
Okay. So yeah. Otherwise, the next thing I was going to do is do the whole take a hit move on you, Gabriel. But Charlotte is up there, knocks in the way. Pam, you are free from the mob, and the mob dissipates. You see that figure in the security booth. He looks smaller. He looks weaker. There's still the kind of flashing of sparks from the broken monitors behind. It's like an 80s video.
I'm going to roll a little bit out of the way and try to get a look from behind on him.
All right.
To line it up.
Okay.
And to give us another opening, hopefully. Just,
Roll with
I can see well in the dark, and I might as well use that here.
Flash.
So I believe that is coins, and I'll set my coins at +1.
Okay.
So I'll roll first. Okay. I think, yeah, that should be fine. All right, I have an 8.
All right.
So
what is it you see as an opening?
I think that there's a pattern. I think that there's the darkness protection is, it flickers every and so I'm going to be so I'm taking it as a fleeting.
Okay.
But it's that there's a moment where it's not complete. But we have to wait for it to time right.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna try to count down to everybody else. I think that also opens me up a little bit.
Okay. So he is going to send an attack your way. And so let's go ahead and have you roll push through pain. You've got one condition marked, right?
I have one condition marked. That's
Let's
right.
let's have you roll.
All right. So that's a right. So that's a +1.
Yep.
All right. That's another. Oh, that's a 10.
That is a 10. That's not
That
great.
is not the worst, like, or almost as bad as I could have got.
Yeah. So pick one from that as that, like you spot that pattern. You're shouting that out. Flicker of your eyes that hits you with this essentially like broken chair leg here. What do you want is your 10 plus result there?
Ooh. I'm not taking the last one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Okay. I think I'm actually just going to I can't collapse unconscious either. That gets the whole point. So yeah, I kind of have to mark 2 conditions.
What are you marking?
I'm getting there. I'll say cowed and scared.
Okay. Now you have fleeting advantage acting on each. So the first couple times you roll those moves, the first time you won't
the
take
first
that.
time I use either, I don't take it. I don't have disadvantage because it'll cancel the disadvantage from the.
Yeah, but you kind of stagger back. That hit was heavy, was hard
Right.
there.
But I'm
there's
counting still.
Counting still. There's still that opening Sasha.
So we do have an opening on him.
We do have an opening on him.
For a few seconds.
All right.
Now, don't forget you could declare help as an action as well.
I'm gonna try and go in on the opening.
Okay. What are you striking with?
I think we can go with coins. Taking some time here while Pam is getting back in trouble to line up exactly where I'm going to go for.
Okay.
Do something.
That is a 7. What happens? How do you take him out?
Where is he at this point?
He is kind of in this booth with a shattered back. The monitors are gone. The counter, Gabriel has knocked all his papers askew. The door is kind of between him and Gabriel is kind of open. And he's hit Pam as Pam has come up and has seen that gap, that flicker of the darkness that's shielding him. And Pam is still counting out the 1, 2, 3, 5 now.
I think I actually dive in between Gabriel's legs to get up on him and rip that length of chain that I had been using off, wrap it quickly around his waist and his wrists, and then pull off several locks and just clamp him to his booth chair there.
And he's in place. The what cameras are left are on him, and all of the lights and the darkness is gone, and there'll be this crack as this world tears asunder and you are flung back out into the real world, this castle shattered. Let's take a 5-minute break. And when we come back, we'll deal with the fallout from that. So because you defeated the Vassal, you get to mark a rank of Void. And that will give you an advance. And likely, he'll want to take a new move. Or a bonus to a stat.
Wait, do we have a move to start with?
No, this is your first move.
Oh, okay.
The other thing is, so in a second, Patrick, because Patrick struck the final blow, Sasha struck the final blow, Sasha is going to get to choose where the hideout is. It should be someplace important to them. But there's another thing that's going to happen, and that is for each of you, something that like is important or would make you feel powerful or significant or bolster you. Just a significant item, not necessarily a weapon or anything like that, but something like that will manifest in this hideout space. What would be something significant to you, Charlotte, that we would see manifest in our hideout?
Oh, that's interesting. This might be a little weird, but I like the idea that there's a door that opens into one of the sort of train stations. Like you could just go through and it's invisible, like it blends into the wall and stuff, but we can step right out into the thing and be on the thing. And the thing is the train station that it is differs all the time.
Okay. So it's not necessarily a reliable access out there. Okay.
Right, exactly.
Pam, what's a thing that would manifest here in this hideout space that would be significant to you?
So I'm trying to think in terms of it. I guess is there, so we have a pretty broad scope here, right?
Yeah. Well, I want to have you three do this first before I throw it to Patrick to say where the hideout is at, just so that Sasha can work this in.
Okay. I don't know. What is coming to mind is comfortable seating. So.
Oh, I think that's great. Like what kind of what is the kind of chair or seating that Pam adores?
Well, the kind of like well loved couches and chairs that the cushioning is it's the kind of sofa that's been slept on many years and still manages to hold up, but is nice and soft and forgiving, as it were.
All right. I like that. Like maybe it would match the decor of a good seedy detective office.
Oh, potentially, but I'm imagining it's like the ideal. It's more. This is the place you want to go after you've just been beaten up all day.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
and you're pulling out frozen vegetables to ice your wounds.
Perfect. It's a couch you saw one time at Pottery Barn. That was great. It was super comfortable. RIP that couch for us. Gabriel, what's something that you would manifest as an empowering thing?
Tell me if this sounds okay. I'm thinking giant saltwater aquarium. And every time we defeat or eliminate a vassal, a new exotic fish inexplicably appears in it that in some way is a callback to some theme of that vassal.
Nice, nice. So what does what does the fish look like for? I mean, there's a host of fish in already, but what's the significant fish that appears for this doorman?
Oh, see, this I could agonize on for a while. Let's see something. You know what? Actually, because he was holed up in that booth, let's say it's not even a fish. It's just one of those really giant clams, like a
Okay.
big one of the
Yeah.
huge things that like it's heavy. You got to lift it out with both hands. Like this huge clam is, or an oyster, or whatever they're called, some big old shellfish mollusk
yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That forms a kind of a baseline and a habitat for the others. Sasha, 2 questions for you. Now, you're also going to add an object to this place, and then the hideout, like has where it enters out into the real world. So tell us where the real world of the hideout is, someplace that's significant to you.
So strangely enough, David hit really close to sort of where I was going. But I'm just loving the themes of like glass and water and reflections. So I think this is like an aquarium in the city, the Ocean City Aquarium. And we're in this sort of like behind the scenes, the background. Like there's a locked door into like a storage place that someone lost the key to long ago. That's our entrance in. And when we're in there, we're on the other side of the tanks. And because the hideout is sort of in the world, not in the world, right?
So there's a physical place where it comes out that you have to go to get to the hideout.
Yeah. So we're on the other side of the tanks, and it sort of looks like it's clear glass and water, like people should be able to see through the tanks and see us, but we're just on the other side of the world, sort of thing. But
So
there's like one whole wall that's these huge aquarium, like floor to ceiling tank with fish in it and light coming through and that sort of thing.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to put the aquarium on the board here. Tell me, why is this place significant to you? What is it? Is this a place that you stole a key from? Is it a place someone you knew worked? Did you used to work here? What's the significance?
I think it's the last place Sasha came with his father before he was gone.
Oh,
I don't know what that means, but it's something sad.
okay.
Nostalgic, melancholy, that sort of thing.
Excellent. So we've got that aquarium as a location. Last place you came with your dad, and somehow you managed to get, a pass key that's kind of hidden away, that when the group comes here, they can kind of sneak off into this hideout, and then kind of step into this other world of it. Okay. Let me come around and ask what you think you're going to take for your advance here. Sherry, what do you think? You are muted.
It's okay, because all I'm doing is going, ow, ooh, they're all so delicious. Let's see here. How about, so what is the significance of marking void?
So
You
there are
said like we get a void and then we gotta move. Is
Yeah.
that the same thing? I don't understand.
Sure. Let's take a look at the characters. So there are 2 things. There are ranks of void,
Mhm.
which is basically a kind of a track that fills up. And when you fill up the void track, then you get a rank of void.
Oh, so it takes 15 things of something to get a thing.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh.
If you go, if you get more than 3 in ranks in a particular thing, then bad stuff starts to happen.
Okay.
You can
So if
let
you
it
get
go.
more than 3 void level ups, or if you get more than 3
Oh.
Yeah, if you
world
would
level
have
ups.
gone before something bad happens, you're overwhelmed by
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
before that happens, you can let go your ranks into the world and
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
let that cause problems for you instead.
Okay. So when we got that void thing, we didn't get a void rank, we got a void box. We got a box of void.
Nope, you get a rank of void. Like it gives you,
Oh,
it
okay.
automatically gives you that, so you can take an advance.
Okay. So that's one of the things. Okay. So then my move, I think, oh gosh, this is either endlessly resourceful or, ooh, or mother of monsters.
And I'm going to say this
Ooh.
for everybody,
Oh my
just so you know,
God.
this is my usual thing. The picks that you make now, we'll check in a couple of sessions, and if you find that that's not the choice you wanted, you'll be able to swap it out. So nothing is written in stone here.
Okay.
Also, there's a lot of like flexibility, because when you like lose void ranks and gain them again, you can make different decisions the next time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yep.
I'm gonna try, I'm thinking about going with a mermaid theme. So I think actually Mother of Monsters goes really well with that.
Yes,
Are you okay with that, guys?
Okay.
I love it.
All right.
Pam, what are you thinking about for your advance?
So part of me is actually debating just taking a +1 to coin. But I'm because yes, the available numbers on that are tight.
Mhm.
I haven't quite pinned on I found myself gravitating towards the one that the move that lets you use coin instead of cups.
Mm.
And I felt like, well, that isn't actually that much different than just taking a +1 to something.
Yeah.
And the +1 is just a cleaner thing to keep track of. So I want to take another look at them, because I haven't
Okay.
I didn't
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
read all of them
Yeah.
enough.
Take a look through. Yeah.
But yeah.
I agree with you that the moves that let you roll something else for a particular move, I kind of hate those, but they're not
Yeah.
as fun.
Right.
So,
Especially because that is my -1 stat. Like
Yeah.
it fills in for my -1 stat, which feels uninteresting actually.
Mhm.
So
I
I would
agree.
much prefer to take my yeah, I think I will just make coins +2.
Okay. What about you, Gabriel?
So just to clarify and make sure I'm caught up, am I marking one rank under void?
Yep. You'll mark
Okay.
one rank there, and that will give you that an advance, any one of those ones below.
Okay, so I think just to start with, we're going to keep the psychological angle going, and I will take the move Psychopomp.
Oh, nice.
I have no idea how I will use it, but we will
Oh,
find a
that's
way.
great, though.
nice.
Essentially, you kind of will lead the others, so other people don't have to roll, and so that we know that you can move them along. Plus, you can lead them to new places, new and exciting and interesting places. And what about you, Patrick?
I'm also going to take a move, and I'm going to take Subversive Whisper, where if I'm spying on a minion, I can mark void and whisper an incendiary secret into their minds and turn them against someone.
Nice. So there's a whole set of next steps of defining your weapon, your look, picking your NPCs, doing that, getting those on a relationship chart. What I want to do is we're going to stop here, kind of put a pin in it for this week, because with the half hour left, I don't want to rush through this, because I want us to have time to talk about what those covenants are. Go ahead and take a look at the covenant moves and things, and we're going to start out with that next week, talking about what you look like, talking about what your transform thing. Maybe you find a picture between now and then, which would be cool, and find something that is cool for your final sort of look. And you're going to be coming up with 2 covenants, 2 NPCs you're going to connect to that will put on the chart and get those relationships. Does that sound cool with everybody?
So just to confirm, we come up with 2 NPCs just on our own in between.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And we'll talk about like how they're connected to you, and then you'll define what their covenant connections are. Patrick, I'm sorry, did you say something?
Muted. I think what it is that we come up with one covenant NPC and then we connect to one of the ones that someone.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Thank you. So 1 NPC, but also think about your backstory. We'll kind of play into that, and we'll start out with that next time, getting those pieces out on the table. Plus, if you between now and then you want to make some changes, you've thought about it, want to thought about some more details, we can add that in. Sound good? Okay. So I am going to stop the recording.